What compels human beings to risk everything against the giants of the ocean, creatures stretching over 20 meters, weighing more than 100 tons, armed with nothing more than wooden boats and sharpened spears? Is it desperation, courage, or the sheer will to survive? Since the earliest days of seafaring, whale hunting was never just a trade. For coastal communities, it was survival itself, a ritual woven into daily life, a destiny shaped by the unforgiving sea. The ocean gave generously, but it also demanded sacrifices. By the 19th century, whaling reached its peak. In some years, more than 40,000 whales were killed. Whale oil, once called liquid gold, lit the lamps of cities, fueled machines, and shaped an age before petroleum. This is a story of courage, blood, salt, and memory. Join us on Now Discover. Subscribe today and step into the untold history of the whale hunt. What does it mean to chase a living giant across the open sea, knowing one mistake could doom the entire crew? For whalers of the past, this was not adventure. It was survival. Every voyage began with discipline. Ships were reinforced, ropes coiled neatly, and harpoons sharpened to a steel shine. Provisions were stored, and every sailor drilled in his role. The lookout scanned the horizon, rowers pulled in rhythm, and the harpooner at the bow carried the crew's fate in his hands. Then came the cry, "There she blows!" A towering spout pierced the sky. Small boats dropped into the waves, oars cutting hard as crews surged toward the dark shape below. The first strike unleashed chaos. The whale charged forward, dragging the boat in what sailors called a Nantucket sleigh ride. Ropes screamed, waves crashed, and men clung desperately as the creature pulled them for miles. Hours could pass in this tug-of-war. Human endurance pitched against raw ocean power. History itself reminds us of the danger. In 1820, the ship Essex was rammed and sunk by an enraged whale. 20 sailors were cast adrift. Only 8 survived. The tale became legend, a warning that the ocean could both give life and demand it back. At last, exhaustion slowed the beast. Lines tightened, the water stilled, and the giant rolled over. There was no cheer, only silence and awe for the immense life taken, and the sobering knowledge of what it meant for the village waiting on shore. The next ordeal was work, not battle. Crews cut and hauled vast slabs of blubber to be rendered into oil. On deck, great iron tryworks burned, turning blubber into shimmering liquid. That oil became the energy of its age, fueling lamps in distant cities and driving the gears of industry. Yet survival carried a price. Crews worked to exhaustion, facing cold winds, relentless seas, and constant peril. Boats capsized, men were injured, some never returned home. The true cost of a whale was measured not only in barrels of oil, but in sacrifices etched into the lives of those who went to sea. Meat was salted or dried to provide food when storms barred men from the sea. Bones and baleen became tools, ornaments, even building frames. Almost nothing went to waste. A single blue whale could yield up to 50 tons of blubber and meat, enough to sustain an entire community through the winter. And still, out of that hardship came meaning. Alone, no sailor could hope to face such a creature. Only through unity, rhythm, and trust could they succeed. Each whale taken was not simply a catch, but proof of resilience, evidence that humanity's courage and cooperation could carve survival from the deep. Whale hunting was brutal, uncertain, and often unforgiving. But for the people who lived by the sea, it stood as a testament that in the face of nature's greatest challenges, strength was not enough. Only solidarity could see them through. When the whale was finally brought ashore, the scene shifted from struggle to celebration. The danger of the hunt gave way to the hum of a community in motion. Children ran along the beach, darting between barrels and baskets, their eyes wide with wonder. Women gathered by the shoreline, salting strips of meat, rinsing tools, and laying food out to dry in the sunday. Men hauled and stacked, their voices carrying across the harbor. The clatter of work mixed with laughter and song until the entire shoreline echoed like a festival of labor. But before feasting came fairness. Elders of the village stood at the center, overseeing the division of the whale's bounty. Every family, whether they had sailed or not, received a share. This practice was more than distribution, it was a declaration of unity. The risks of the hunt were borne by a few, but its rewards belonged to all. In this way, the whale became not just sustenance, but a bond that tied the community together. Gratitude followed. On the sand, makeshift altars were raised, smoke curling skyward as prayers were offered to the ocean and to the fallen whale. For many, these giants were seen as guardians of the sea beings whose sacrifice demanded reverence. Rituals were as important as the harvest, for they reminded people that survival was not just about strength, but about respect. Today, reminders of this duality still endure. In Japan, there are more than 100 whale shrines built, where whales are revered as guardian gods. The whale hunt was never only about food or fuel. It was about identity, how entire generations came to see themselves reflected in the rhythm of the sea. It was about memory, how the story of one hunt could be told again and again, binding grandparents and children in a single chain of tradition. For those who live by the sea, whales were once living treasure chests, floating banks of food and oil that could sustain an entire village. One successful hunt meant lamps lit, homes warmed, and pantries filled through the harshest winter. The skills of the hunt became heritage. Fathers taught sons to read the sea, to steady boats in storms, to to strike with precision. Oral stories and songs preserve these lessons, ensuring that knowledge outlived the men who first carried it. The lesson is clear: whales were never simply prey. They were teachers, symbols, sacred beings. Their story is pride and warning alike. Pride in the courage of communities who face the ocean, warning that nature, once exhausted, cannot easily forgive. The ocean once gave humanity light, warmth, and survival. The question now belongs to us. Will we give it respect in return?